Hi. Okay. Hi. Oh. It's okay. I'm gonna have to trim it anyways. You just gotta keep those little microphones out. Yeah. Hopefully the sound is better than it was before. It wasn't really good during team meetings, so yeah. So it is recording just automatically right now, so I'll trim it. You'll trim it out. Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
I saw the email.
So it started out in I had several
Because then you have to be exterior, the house is the exterior. And sell it for $9.50. Like if you're gonna sell it for $8.50, that's it. You're like stating that. The people that you're selling.
Did you I don't like any brick.
No, that's a huge. I would not make the crazy money like that. Then what does it sell? Now you're selling a house that you don't like. Right, exactly. You're gonna be paying for a city watch.
What am I asking her about?
But I think that you're that you're selling to a couple, and I think that you're using them as a cash because they don't see something there, and the rest of the house is fine with that. The garage could use a sweeping, maybe a little bit. Yeah, like there was like when you were walking right through there, it's like a little dirty, probably a little like. Other than that, I think yeah, if I were you, I'd call Staker and see if you can black.
Like I honestly bring my bedroom.
We need to put like a headboard in inside that.
Yeah, my kids. You see my
You need to get rid of both.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
You need to come in and you need to put restrooms. You need to put some kind of restroom on floor, like you need to have an actual bed. Because people are walking in and that oak cabinet isn't as big as their own one. That safe isn't as big as their restroom. And they're like, you don't notice it. The master bedrooms are really good size.
Yeah,
We
like
can't go in there and like,
what we're going to do is we have both sides there with the headboard. Across the way, you go long dresser with here. And then you also have a dresser. You have a small dresser either on the first spot we're going to do this, or you come like a meter or like maybe. I think you're right. Like when I walked in there, I got the one thing that I like.
it's just true. Like, I think that's the way to run. Like, if you need the buyer to watch and say about it, stop saying it. Because the honesty is fine. So we're seeing people are realizing how big that shower is. I didn't see it. And they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that. Or they didn't see the second bathroom in that first minute.
Toilet?
Well, they didn't see the bathroom.
Oh, in that bedroom? Oh, I got you.
Well, no,
they want to,
if this is a hallway, you're going like this, and then you keep walking, and they never look behind the door, open and see seeing the full map.
Unless you walk in that way, you don't see that. Which I kept telling people, I'm like, make sure you set up.
Yeah, make sure you see the bathroom. That's what I was saying to a lot of people, like, this big gate, so like, next bedroom, like, that,
Yeah.
like the loft.
No, the other
The
one.
loft was like you read a couple of
I just sat in the back.
we're very good sites. And you did read a lot.
That's what I tell you. Everyone else likes to go.
For the client, I asked. What if you, he's like, I told you the price, and I was like, well, you were right on our. I told him, I said, I think that's the wire. Yeah, most of the feedback I got back from I thought so too. Like at 800, like at 800 or 200 bucks.
Yeah, we'll leave a little bit more.
I didn't have one.
Come to the back, yeah.
Oh, really? I was like, I was like a student house.
Yeah.
I'm like, like individual. I'm like, watching.
Oh, fun. That's what I got never. And I was like, my heart coming certified this guy. I was like, oh, right. Because then I created it by myself. It's like, oh. I had no idea what to do.
I did. And I was, well, yeah, like,
Sure haven't. Probably won't for a long time. Honestly, never. Oh, it's just been like, so sure that I would literally die of anxiety on the way. That I was just like, no. Yeah, and so then
Well, some of the people come back because they were excited.
can you, wait, yes, I have a question.
well, the park is a backyard, that's.
Who doesn't get her own get cranky ass teacher?
I went and got a yogurt. You want a yogurt?
Yogurt?
A yogurt, just a regular. Yeah, I bought them this morning and then I realized they expire next Wednesday. I was like, well, that's.
I talked to her. I would talk and say, you got taking pictures and staging.
Sucks.
The only thing I have to take is now.
Yeah, literally.
Wow. Yes, but I didn't put it in.
We're waiting for the pizza to get here before we start.
Yeah, well, if it doesn't get me started, we'll start. I deal with it.
Yes, we would all like to.
Well, I have, were they there? Yeah. It's just a good idea. Yeah, those are. Cause I have, okay, that's true, cause I have a lot of.
Yes, I mean, yeah, I feel like, oh, there's some. There. So,
But my other conversation is
From this and running on, I'm getting some board.
Okay.
barely above. I do a good structure.
What's the thing, I'm speaking for my company.
We don't have that.
I do have a matching long dresser and a tall dresser. It should be.
I definitely.
Okay, but I'm saying I have that dresser, I have a long dresser and a tall dresser, which I've been painting white and I'm finishing up like a minute. It won't be white, but they go.
Yeah, it's mostly just like,
You just have to here to go above this long gate. That one was better.
I was like, that was the only one. Why would I like, oh, and I need to write my license.
But you can, please find, I don't,
All
don't.
interest, all interest. Ask her if she has find out how much you charge.
Actually, I think we find magic dressers,
So they're like,
or, you know, we need to, we can go get Mandy's feathers like she has. It's just cute, I think it's clean, but I think she.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm like, I really.
Okay, I'm gonna try and follow that fire with that chopper.
I haven't had time. My life has been a mess. So I need to go update the registration on my car and I just got an order from ADOT saying like, suspend the registration on your car because you don't have valid insurance for, because they changed our car insurance over to Utah. So like, I just need to get all that done.
Okay, we'll be starting in just a sec. People online, so.
Do you have a darker marker?
Yeah, I was just thinking, it doesn't look like it's coming up on that at all. There's a purple and red.
I bet in the boardroom, there's a black.
When I have it later.
And if you put them upside down, like so the lid's down, if they're not working.
Soaks up.
Cows in there, so. Okay, good going. So, I'm glad there's only 50 people here, because then I'd be truly nervous. Still pretty nervous because, couple reasons. It's a new class, I've never taught it. It's not, so a little background. So I've been taking this master class from Linda McKissick. Her and her husband, done real estate, I don't know how many years ago, but they were $600,000 in debt at the time. They owned a bunch of nightclubs and stuff like that in the, I believe the Dallas area.
They own some nightclubs?
Uh-huh.
Wow.
They were all at bars and restaurants and nightclubs. Then they got in real estate kind of later, later life, 40s, they didn't, not Phoenix, I still got the license, so.
Yeah.
But, so they got really successful, built a lot, ran offices, OPs and all that sort of stuff. And then they've been really purposeful about profit share. And she's talked about how, basically you could say selling real estate, you can get rich. You get your commissions, whether you're smart, you'll be fine. But truly build wealth, something that is, rich people play basketball, wealthy people own the teams type of thing, right? So she's like, I made more money through profit share than I ever did selling real estate. So she and her husband have been really focused about it. So I've been taking this class from her, and it's PhD level, water from a fire hydrant type of thing. So we can't cover everything in 1 hour, and there's no secret sauce to it. Basically, at the end of the day, it's relationships, validity, and our value over time that will allow you to build your downline. So I'd like to be interactive. So I've got some things on my little curriculum here. Like I'm going to ask you guys questions. But is there anything in particular you guys want to get out of this class? I mean, obvious answers being how do I build my downline? But like anything in particular, like what are some
So like I'm
secrets or-
trying to figure out the words. My biggest thing is like how to not be nervous
Okay.
about like talking to an experienced agent who clearly knows what they're doing. And like how to show them the value of Keller Williams and like how to just kind of get that initial,
Okay.
get them like interested.
I was going to say value would be brought up for me. So like to provide value without being KW is awesome, come join us.
Yeah.
But letting them kind of, and that's something we talk about, basically have them self-discover.
Yeah.
Why KW is awesome. One thing she talks about, I never bring up color lens. I don't want to talk to somebody, I don't ever say, hey, KW is great, or color lens, we did this, color lens, we've got red day. It's just, it's letting them ask you about color lens. Ultimately, it's what she's found to be her secret. So I'm just gonna write a little chicken scratch. So I know what it says because of what. Being pushy essentially. Is kind of what you're saying, right, Liz? Like,
Yeah.
without just like, we're awesome, we're awesome, we're awesome. Join us. So,
Yeah.
any other particular questions?
I'm not necessarily like struggling with bringing people to the appointment and that kind of thing. I mean, like I would say this year, I think I brought 3 people to this office. I'm working on like another 4 or 5 right now. Fantastic. Like that isn't necessarily the problem, but I guess like how to, like, do you have a follow-up system? Because I sometimes feel like that conversation doesn't happen in a day.
Right.
And it really is kind of more of this kind of long-term as well in some aspects. Like, is there a way to kind of systematize how you follow up with agents if people are doing that?
Yeah, so and this is what I'm kind of nervous about, because again, it's not my class, it's Lynn McKissick.
Right.
And I say I'm nervous because in full transparency, I don't have one person in my downline. I've never been purposeful about it until Sean asked me to be the chair of the growth committee. Like, me, like, I don't know anything about profit sharing. And the reason for that is my previous market center wasn't profitable.
Right.
Hey, this is being recorded, so.
Just kidding.
So.
Right, and we won't say what your previous market was.
No, so, but I never really thought about it, profit share as a mechanism to help build wealth, because when you're running in black every month, those are the red, whichever one's the bad one.
Oh, right.
When you're running red every month, it's tough to be like, hey, come recruit people to our office.
Right.
Because
They don't
That's
want to
great,
create
but,
expense.
so what's been nice about not just this class, but again, being purposeful about it, is now I'm, okay, you can actually do this, and it doesn't have to be in that particular market center. It's like Spencer brought up today in the team meeting was, they don't have to be here, right, Sugar House, or Salt City, they can be anywhere essentially in the world, and as long as they're at a profitable market center. So talk to Sean about that, if you know somebody out of state.
And is part of this curriculum as well, like, I mean, it's great and all to bring people to the office.
Mhm.
Were they being purposeful in making sure that those people are succeeding? Because you only get paid when they're in production, right? So like, is part of
As long as
their,
they're contributing to the company dollar. So
right,
once you cap-
once you cap, there's no, but are they, and I guess my thing is like, do they talk about being purposeful and making sure that those people are capping? Or is it just kind of hoping that they recruit talent and see what happens?
Well, let me write this down. So
they
what was your previous concern was,
Like,
providing value systematized?
yeah, systematizing the kind of follow-up to get them here.
Yeah. They're
And once
absolutely
they're
there.
here, how do you make sure that they make money?
Right.
To make you money.
Right.
Yeah.
So a couple things we'll talk about is there's 2 agents, essentially. There's new agents.
Yep.
People in real estate school and people you may know,
Yep.
that sort of thing. We all may know. And then there's recruiting experienced agents.
People who are
Which are,
exception.
right, and like, I think that's where people like Liz and myself, who've been in it for a few years, like,
Right.
it's tough, like, how do we provide value to KW when this person's doing double what we're doing every year? Like,
Yeah.
How does that, where's my validity there?
Right.
Kind of thing. So, that's where we talk about, the validity, again, not without talking about the validity of KW, but, how it can help
Yeah.
their business, because really, it's really like real estate, buyers and sellers. It's just, what can you do to help them? It's not about us. The great reward for us when we help somebody sell a home or buy a home is we earn a commission, right? But it's really, how can we help them? And as long as we're doing everything ethically above board, not trying to just get a commission, things will kind of naturally start to gravitate and start happening. Same thing is going to happen with profit share as well. If you can help them, because maybe this person's stuck at a certain level of production, and that's the value you provide to them. So for instance, I'm kind of covering some of the material, but so Liz, you talked to an agent, OC agent, they've sold 40 houses this year, but and they sold
But they keep
houses
selling,
every year.
yeah, every year they
And
sell 40 houses.
So you would say something along.
And they're doing it all themselves. Maybe they have a
Right.
transaction for it.
Right, so it's like, okay, what kind of value can we provide to them? Saying, hey, you know, what kind of systems are you using? And, you know, you get them to kind of self-reflect, oh, okay, what can I do to, you know, again, it's not like, oh, here,
You're so right.
here,
How are you
KW,
doing it?
you know, we've got all these great mega teams that are, you know, what do you want out of your business? What do you need to do this year in order to take your business to the next level? What systems, what models are you following? So.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a couple conversations with people who are in production already. And it's almost like when the buyer's like, you know, we want a bigger house.
No.
Instead of saying how many square feet, it's what would that do for you, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the conversation I've had as well with some people. It's like, well, you know, I don't have a great listing presentation. Okay, well, what would putting that together do for you, right? Like,
Yeah.
and I think kind of having that conversation around, I mean, I feel like looking at other brokerages, like our CRMs and things like that are probably a little bit more robust than what some of these other people are using. I mean, I know a lot of agents that are still using Microsoft Excel spreadsheets to try to manage their business, and like I feel like that's a pain point for everybody, right?
Yeah, and you gotta think too, is they may look on the surface like they are just killing it, and maybe they are, you know, at the same time. Maybe they're just stuck right there. So what value can we provide? So let's say you're talking to that experienced agent, and like, well, I can do so much more, but better listing presentation. You look on the monthly training calendar, like, hey, why don't you come to this class next Tuesday? It's right after our team meeting, and come join us, and we're having, you know, Josh Stern come teach his listing presentation, or whatever, you know what I mean?
Right.
So this, providing that value over time will then get you that validity, which will help you build that relationship. Because you gotta remember, this is not a, you know, it's like real estate in the end, that sometimes everybody, you know, sometimes some people raise their hand, oh, I wanna buy a house. And 3 years later, I still can't get them to want to go see a house. So it takes time. Then every so often you get that person, I want to see a house, and you see the first house and you write an offer.
Right.
That's the unicorn. So you gotta think about this. This is gonna take a long time to do. This isn't an overnight solution. So we're kind of taking a step back, because this is about building wealth. So what are the 3 ways to build wealth? And I think, and I'm open for suggestions, but when I broke it down and thought about it, really there's only 3 ways to truly build wealth. So what would you say?
Real estate.
Real estate's one. Okay, and we're talking about real estate and owning real estate, not selling.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
That's how you get the money to go buy more. real
Yeah,
estate.
that's the vehicle.
Yeah.
Passive, like investments.
Yeah, so profit share is passive, profit share is passive, but yeah. Did you see something?
And there's the same thing in investment.
Okay. Okay.
Stock market.
Stocks. And I'll just write the last one down.
Please.
And it's owning businesses. And what we don't, I think we're seeing here in KW, and, you know, well, we should, because it's part of it, you know, teaching you how to run a business like a business. And we're talking about real estate, but think of profit share as a business too. And this is going to let you get your passive income. So when you start treating profit share like a business, it'll start operating like one, you know, and this is not a 40-hour week job, like, right? I wish we had 40-hour weeks in real estate, but you know what I mean? But it's something, if you're purposeful about it, you can start running like a business to have your system set up. So, you know, follow your models. Okay, what do I need to do? Maybe on Fridays from noon to 2, I follow up with my agents, that sort of thing. So I think it's something you can figure out for yourself. So, well, let me ask you guys this. Would you, I mean, I kind of said it, don't just take me in my word. I want to have a conversation about this. Would you consider a profit share a business, and if so, why? And so I just want you to think, there's no right or wrong answers. I just want you to kind of think about that question.
Well, I mean, like last month I got like $300.
Profit share, and more than I've ever made.
Exactly.
Good for you.
And, you know, that was probably, I don't know who all was in production right now, and it was no more than 3, right? And so, yeah, I mean, like part of it was like, oh, okay, well, if I did have, you know, 15, 20 agents, because I feel like, you know, within 2 or 3 years, that's definitely attainable.
Yeah.
If I did have 15, 20 agents who were in production every single month, what does that look like in terms of that passive income, right? Because Lee Stern makes $35,000 without blinking an eye, and it probably is from a systematized every, you know, 3 weeks on a Friday, I call those agents, right?
when she's been in real estate for 40 years, so she's got relationships. More than we, right, not saying that's, we have to wait 40 years for it to build.
No.
If you look and see what it does, it compounds month over month, year after year. And Linda McKissick last month made like $120,000 profit share. So she's up to over, I think like $14, $15 million in profit share
Crazy.
in 20 plus years.
Do you know how many people are in her downline?
I don't know like her second, third, fourth levels.
Okay.
That's the beautiful thing. She's like on a monthly, because some people leave KW and they're going to fall out of the online. But she says she has about 28, 32 at any given time in her top line.
Okay.
So the thinking is, her thinking is, and I think makes all sense in the world. So you don't have time to, so let's say I brought you in, Phoenix, right? And then I don't have time to then say, who are you bringing? Let's bring them. If you build it wide, time will build it deep. And that's when you start to the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh levels, is when you start seeing that really, really compounded stuff. And it's great because what makes profit share a really great business is it's completely passive. In that you bring somebody in, theoretically you can take your hands off, but you brought up the idea of like how do you keep providing value to them while they're here so they stay in production, right? So another good thing that makes profit share a great business, especially to start off, when you're talking about owning a business, is that it requires no upfront costs. There's no capital. You're not the owner of this market center. You're not going to have to rent this space. You have to furnish it. You don't have to pay salaries. So what's really great is if you can get into that business owning mindset around profit share, it's a great way to do it. Because then maybe you down the road you want to go own nightclubs or restaurants or whatever. But it's a great way to do it now because there's no financial cost to you. You're not going to lose your butt because you are doing profit share. You may not make any money that month, but you weren't going to make it anyway if nobody is in it, right? So, okay, so we kind of talked about this, but what is profit share? Like what's we know what it is, but
On top of, well, it's just, 48% of the market share's profit goes back to the agency.
yes, it's amongst the non-ownership portion of it. Yep. Well, the definition that she has, and I really like this, is because it's getting that mentality of I want to put people in my down, as where your mindset needs to be, how can I help other people grow their business? So her definition is the passive income you receive from helping the company grow, and helping Kilowatts grow. So there's no I in that, there's no what's in it for me. But by doing that, you will receive hopefully substantial checks down the road. You might start at $6 or $300 and down the road, Kilowatts will pay you to be here, right? Type thing. That's the idea, right? So there's three parts to this wealth building action plan. So first and foremost, like anything, you have to have a big why around it. The big why is not that's your personal question. So, or something you got to think about. So, what would that money do for you? What would profit share money do for you? Have you thought about that?
I think it'd be huge. Just having any passive income is safe. You never know what production you'll give.
Let's go around the room. If you don't mind me asking. So, what would be your big why around why you want to be purposeful around building a downline with profit share?
I mean, as we know, like I help the team achieve, have been doing that for a year. Like for me, the profit share side of it really is helping other people grow their business, because that's what I enjoy doing. The one thing with profit share is, that really does pay me whether I build a team or not. Like that time that I invest in the agent that I bring to KW, and helping them grow their business, it does reward me and kind of pay me for my time. But my big why around it really is helping people build their business.
Okay. And I'm going to take kind of flip behind you real quick. I want you guys to be very, very self-interested right now. For my big why is building retirement. So I have millions of dollars in bank account, and I'm like, I no longer want to show another house.
Right.
I no longer want to go to this appointment, and I can just be done with it. So that's my big why. And what would you say your big why is?
I was gonna say FP money.
Yeah, I love it.
What?
Thank you for using.
But, yeah.
Yeah.
So we, but
Front
it's
bugs.
kind of like what you said, like, don't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I don't have to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Refer it to somebody.
Yeah.
Or, like the job of someone else, and be okay with that because I love it.
Yeah, so I'm talking trips, family,
Yeah.
college funds. They talk, I can't remember their name, there's another person in Florida who does tremendous amount of profit share. His mother had to go into assisted living. And that assisted living, I don't know if you know, I've helped a couple clients, it's not cheap, it's like $8,000 a month. Yeah, so because of profit share, solely through profit share, he's able to pay for his mother's, 24-hour care, that sort of thing. He didn't necessarily know that was going to be the reason why he was using it, but now he's like, great, I can do that now. I don't have to go out and sell one extra home a month in order to make sure her rent's covered, right? Liz, what would you say?
My reason for,
What's your personal why? Why would you want to be personal around this? Again, I want you to
around
think about
profit
you.
share.
I want around you to be, I won't say
Okay,
greedy,
so
but
like my big-
self-interested.
so like my big why in general is like changing people's lives, like changing the trajectory of their
Yeah.
lives, because that's what real estate has done for me. And I've watched clients do the same thing, and I think KW can do the same thing for other people just like me.
Absolutely.
So just seeing them like go from selling, 10 houses a year to 20 houses a year, but having more time and more money, and just more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a big, kind of going back, talking about, so what can you do to help others? When you're not thinking about what do I get out of this?
Yeah.
But by doing that, again, you get a residual
Yeah.
award, you get a check on the 21st of the month. Now, I apologize, I don't know your name.
I'm Jordan.
Jordan? You look familiar, I've seen you around.
I've been around, I just actually took my test yesterday and passed.
Oh,
Yay!
congratulations, good job.
My
That's awesome.
license application.
Now,
is like,
you get out of the division.
Yeah,
With those guys, that's,
Yeah.
it's.
yeah,
really
so I'm
awesome.
working with Erica.
Oh, okay, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, what would be your, excuse me, a big why for you?
Right now where I'm at in life, it would be getting debt free.
Okay,
We have,
were you the one who unfortunately
Yeah.
lost the office space? That's the thought, yeah, so.
yeah,
Now, probably share down the road, and again, it's not, you're not gonna get a $250,000 check tomorrow,
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately, but
but
as time goes, yeah. So those are good answers, those are exactly what I wanted to kind of get a sense of, so. Cool, so I've got some things in here which I want to pass out. This is a check I want you guys to fill out. So money is good for the good that it can do. So what we need to figure out, and I apologize for the people who are watching online, that I don't have this for you. Put any number in here. So Linda Kissick started off $250,000, and she obviously flown well past that. So this is a moving target, but you can never hit a target. You can't ever hit a target you can't see. So the idea is to put this out in front of you. So think about this for just a minute. Right now, we don't have to share or anything, because for me, it's $20,000, because that's attainable. I think that's the goal. Once I get that, I'll give you
basis.
no, it's whatever you want it to be. So you think about this too, and you don't have to think about this day or come financial days. How much monthly money do you want per month to survive? Or we're not to survive, but we live a thriving lifestyle, so you can have that money Emily was talking about, where, you know what? I'm not gonna work this month, I'm gonna go to Greece and go on a cruise, whatever, right? So think about that, or you can think about an annual, not even annual, but like, I wanna have $1 million. At the end of the day, when the profit share is all said and done, I want $1 million. So we're gonna clear up some misconceptions about profit share too. Is there any misconceptions you guys can think of regarding how profit share is? Like, some people think it's, especially outsiders, myself included, and again, until I got to a profitable market center, I was like, oh, this is not, multi-level marketing scheme. This is an pyramid scheme. This is actually something that can genuinely help people. And it's not taking any money out of our pocket, right? Any money that you make while you're splitting with KW, that's the money, right? So it's not like, oh, hey, you gotta kick in $80 for the person who sponsored you. Nothing like that. I think people think that's, and I honestly had that perception too, until I learned that, no, it's money I'm paying anyways, at least it's going towards somebody else. So yeah, come up with that big number. And again, there's no right or wrong number, For me, it's 20,000, for you, it could be 2,500, 200, whatever. So again, you can't hit a goal you can't see. So keep this in front of you. She's talking about getting a frame and all that. Do what you want. For me though, I've got it just on the sticky note in my office. It's right above my computer, so I don't feel like calling that day. Okay, make my calls. And same with my annual production goals for real estate. So, thanks. Do you have a question?
Yeah, were you wanting, like, I mean, you said you can do it your way, but do you think it's better to put it as a monthly profit share goal or?
I think it's really what you're comfortable doing. Again, I want you to think of a freedom number. What number do you need to have in there to be free?
And what did you say this lady's making out of profit share each month?
I think she made like 120 last month, 120,000. Holy. Over her last number that I heard was 13.2 million, but that was 5 months ago. So if she's raking in a couple hundred since then, I'm sure she's closer to 14, if not higher. And she's only been doing it for 20, 25 years. Yeah, that's a long time. It's, quarter of a century, but
To be making $1 million a year though,
yeah,
off profit share.
right. That's of her, and
That's FU money.
Yeah.
and she's teaching these classes, you know what I mean? So she still wants to provide that value to help people also. I think there's 501, no, excuse me. Sorry, I'm missing my numbers. I think there's like 92 agents who have earned over $1 million profit share. Keller Williams.
In a year.
No, like in a lifetime, like cumulatively. So, and there's something like, I know, I saw the levels are all broken down. You can see these reports on my KW page, break it down. It doesn't show the individuals, it shows you what people have done over $1 million and between certain levels. So, okay, so profit share 101 is basically what we're going into. And I'll speed it up. I'm nervous because I never taught this class, so I apologize. But we've talked about why the profit share is a great business to invest in. There's no upfront cost, doesn't really require anything for you. It's kind of a set it and forget it, especially if they're not here. Unfortunately, you can't really follow up with them too easily. If you run into somebody, hey, how's business going? So I want you to kind of think of it that now it's passive. However, you want to make some money. So yeah, have some skin in the game to help that. You don't need to dedicate a lot of time, but check in on people and we'll figure out some systems. We'll talk about that, or maybe we talk about that another time. So, depending on how quickly we move through things, I don't know how I'll get to that. So we talked about this already. 2 ways to build profit shares through new agents and licensed experienced agents. That's just 3 audio because it's got to be somebody profitable. So a non-licensed agent can bring somebody in, like Camille Cross brought 2 agents in last month. Maybe it was May, but regardless, she's not licensed, but she's allowed to benefit in the profit share program, which is great. So, and if you're with Keller Williams for 7 years and 1 day, you were fully vested. So you can leave the company. Obviously, we don't want you to, but you could theoretically leave, and you still end up getting those checks as long as you still have people in production.
There was an agent here that left, went to Coldwell Banker, and would still refer new agents and experienced agents to sign on with KW because they still get their down.
Right. Exactly.
And so like she was vested and she was still recruiting people to KW even though she was at a different company.
Yeah, it's crazy. So why you would go to different brokerage when this one offers things like that? That's a personal question. I'm sure she had her reasons.
But
think about the value that profit shares providing her, where she's sending people essentially to her competition. You know what I mean? So she's making her own money doing that. So keys to successful recruiting. We kind of brought this up already. So it's about them, not us. So please don't. So this is kind of the meat and potatoes of it. Where her secret, because you think like, oh, I want them to come see what Keller Williams is about. I want to see how awesome they are. Keller Williams is great. Come to our team meeting. Never ever bring up Keller Williams. She says until that person brings up Keller Williams themselves 2 times, she won't even bring them into like a Coach Dave or a Sean. She won't even bring them over. They have to bring it up. That part of that self-discovery.
So like how? Like what does she what does she do then?
She continues to nurture these relationships, provide validity. So for instance, we kind of talked about this already. So you're talking to an experienced agent. Well, let me take a step back. So when we're talking to other agents, we're doing a deal with another agent. This person doesn't know anything. Unfortunately, that's the reality. We look at it as their weaknesses. Yeah, we think of these, these agents are as not good. They might be fair. There's some agents I will never talk to again. I will never refer. That's fine. But the agents you've had good deals with, or at least deals with that you like. But if you may have noticed some weaknesses, don't look at it as a weakness. Like this person sucks at writing a contract. It was the best one, so we took it, but it's been a nightmare to deal with. Look at it from the perspective of, you know what, this person's got some good like a good base, but they just really need a lot more coaching up. So, like, hey, would you be interested? And you're not trying to be offensive or anything. So you're just like, hey, I noticed on that contract you wrote, it's pretty sloppy. We're doing a contract class next Tuesday. You should come check it out. But providing value like that, Liz, is what will help nurture that relationship and provide validity to you as well as Keller Williams over time. Again, this is not an overnight thing, but think about what, you know, if you're working with an agent, you're like, you know what, they'd be good here. Again, being self-interested at this point, you want to have more people in the downline, so you want to get them over here. Not
But
just
that's the challenge is like, I'm not really going after ones. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like
No.
change the world and help dummies. I'm trying to like bring people over here that are already good. So
Right?
I just don't, I'm like trying to figure out like, it's kind of hard to be like, hey, you should come to this training. Like, I don't need that training. I've been doing this for 20 years. Like, you know what I mean?
Then you're not going. It's like any lead. It's a numbers game. You've got to have enough people in your essentially your pipeline to bring them. Because not everybody's going to say yes. If they're going to say yes, it'll be on their timeline. So you can't force their hand.
I know Josh Stern used to, maybe still does, back when he started, he would do a deal with somebody and then once a quarter on a quarterly call plan, call that agent and talk about their business. I remember Lee said it took almost 3 or 4, so almost an entire year of him calling and saying, hey, how was your, business for the quarter? Where are you at? What are you doing? Before they ever asked how his business was and how KW was, right? And so, I mean, like I went to a networking event at Next Level Homes, right? Talked to this agent named Angie, super nice. What I did find out in the conversation is that she's changed brokerages like 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years, right? Like I'm totally gonna keep her contact info and follow up because there's a good chance that she's gonna leave that brokerage that she's with and go somewhere else because she hasn't found what she's looking for. And a lot of my conversation while I was talking to her never was, oh my gosh, well, next move, you should come to KW. But it was, oh, what did you not like about Summit? What did you not like about Century 21? Like, why did you change, right? And so, from that, I have in my notes all of the different things that she was struggling with. I know KW would probably be a good place for her, but I'm not going to bring it up yet until I continue to kind of nurture that relationship a little bit. And I mean, she's in production. She's been an agent for 5 or 6 years, but from following up quarterly or talking to her about her business, I'm sure at some point she's going to get tired of the brokerage that she's out right now.
Yeah,
because she's missing something.
Yeah. So again, we may on the surface may look like they're happy where they can be, they're in production, but they're missing things, and it's kind of getting to their pain points. Like, what would they benefit from? And you won't know that by just saying, hey.
You're not gonna know from conversation number 1.
Well, no, but like, hey, that's a great deal we worked on. Best of luck to you, type thing. Right. Hopefully they come over, they remember me, and that's what that's when we follow up. Linda's worked on people for 12 years, she said, before they finally made the realization that Keller Williams is the right spot. Right. So again, this is a long-term thing, not necessarily an overnight quick fix solution to adding people to your downline. So, and where you look at, and Liz, I get where you're coming from in terms of not wanting to babysit these agents or something like that. But if it presents itself, look at those weaknesses as opportunities.
Sure.
Think of it from that perspective. Like, oh, hey, we're teaching a great class, or come to Red Day. Maybe they're really philanthropic and very neighborhood. They want to be out there helping people. And maybe their brokerage doesn't do anything like that. So, like, hey, just come join us for Red Day. Non-recruiting event, we're gonna be out there for 4 or 5 hours helping local neighbors do whatever. So, just things like that. You'll start to realize, oh, they really have the values and beliefs that are aligned with the KW culture. I was gonna say one more thing about kind of along those lines. I'll come back to it, but yeah, it's just really providing that value over time. So, because they've got to discover that KW is right for them. They can't be told. I think we're real estate agents. We have egos. That's just the reality of it. So if you tell me something, I'm going to purposely do the exact opposite just to spite you. That's just the reality. But unfortunately, we're all of these alpha mentalities, So you can't ever say, hey, you're not very,
You're not very good at your job.
your brokerage isn't very good. That's what I was going to say. Again, on the surface may look good, but a lot of them don't provide any training or as much training as certainly we don't. We're the number 1 training company in the world. So you can't take just their surface and think that all things are good. I've only been with Keller Williams, so I can't speak to some of these other companies. And I'm not going to say any brokerage is bad. It's the right fit for you. you just think about it, though, like, they might be succeeding despite the services and the stuff they have available to them, you know what I mean? So never shut the door on any agent production, whatever level, because everybody needs something at some time. And when they discover what that is, and if we have it available here, then they'll realize on their own, programs is that great fit, so.
Right.
You say something else.
I mean, I always hear like KW is the company for new agents, KW is the company for new agents. I think that goes to Liz's question. It sounds like part of, this lady's recruiting is probably people who are in production. And
It's
people
100%.
people who have been in the business for 5 or 10 years have heard that we are the company for new agents. So what are we saying to really provide the value to somebody who, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what do we have to offer, I guess?
Well, I think it just depends on what your value proposition for them is, and then if it's not your personal value proposition, it's what's Keller Williams. You can just say, I don't have like here's an answer.
Right,
I wrote it down. I just think the idea is, you kind of do something so well for so long, that's what you're known for, like you're talking about. So how do we bring people like Sabrina Peters over?
Right. Right.
People like, I'm trying to think of somebody else, Becky Hart.
I mean, maybe
Clearly they've found some value.
maybe we talk to them and honestly be like, what was the value proposition that brought you over? So I think that's something like that maybe around profit share we kind of build for the office is like, how do I talk to people who have been in production? Because a lot of my people that I'm talking to and bringing over are newer agents, which is totally great, totally fine, because that's my, SLI.
That's who you know.
But when I am talking to the $10 million agent, I want to use Becky as an example.
Right.
Oh yeah, I totally get where you're coming from. We had an agent, Becky, who, was dealing with the same issue and she came over and has completely resolved that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like some kind of script around how to introduce that conversation, if we could find some scripts around how to follow up.
It's just asking good poignant questions.
Sure.
It's just what are you struggling with in your business right now? Is there anything holding you back? And letting them talk and let them figure it out on their own. And what in the back of your mind, you're like, we can help them with that. You don't say that, they get, come to our next KWT meeting and explain it.
Absolutely.
But in the back of your mind, the wheels are turning, like, okay, great, I've actually had these resources available to help them do that, so.
I think out of the conversations I've had with people, it's come down to like 3 or 4 different things. One is education, right? That's kind of the newer agent who may be in production. And I had an hour and a half long conversation with an agent the other day. I was like, you can 100% do $7 or $8 million of volume. You have that potential. You probably don't have that potential where you're at. And I was just straight up with her, and I'm just like, you don't have the training and resources that you need to do that.
And maybe somebody needs that tough love conversation.
And we have kind of already existing relationship. Some of the other ones have been culture. Like I know one agent that I'm talking to right now, her big thing is she works for an attorney, and that's pretty much it. Like there's no culture, there's no team. I'm not selling her on the numbers of the office. I'm selling her on the people, right? And so I feel like, and then the third one that I always hear is like, I think our office is very set to help people build profit. I think we have a lot of agents in this office with a lot of kind of diverse knowledge. And I don't feel like our office just sells real estate. We have a lot of investors, a lot of rentals, a lot of flippers, like we have
Alan.
Alex, Linda, Boyd, like
Alan's running business.
Right.
Exactly.
And I've used that before too, because I feel like a lot of offices sell real estate and not a lot of offices help their agents build it all. Right. Like we're a little bit different that way.
Well, a lot of offices are built around the brokerage. And she even brought this up in her training was, she didn't say what brokerage she's with before joining Keller Williams, but basically that brokerage was the brand.
Right.
It was about.
Well, most are.
What's that?
Most other brokers.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas we're very agent centric. It's what can Keller Williams help you? Because I don't work for Keller Williams. People always ask what I work for. I said I work for Sean Knows Homes LLC.
Yeah.
Same my company.
Yeah.
I'm in partnership with Keller Williams, but I don't work for them.
Exactly.
Whereas I think if you talk to somebody else, they're gonna say, oh, I work with Century 21 Everest, or I'm with Sotheby's.
Well, that was one of the big
That's an
reasons.
easy answer.
That was one of the big
100%.
reasons that agent that I was talking to had left, right? Because she was like, when I take a listing, it's not Angie's listing.
Right.
It's Sotheby's listing, and she didn't like that, right? And in the back of my mind, I'm like, she needs a company that is agent centric, right?
Well, technically she's correct with who's listening, but
sure,
but when you're running the
But KW lets Sean present his listing,
Exactly.
right? Some of these other brokerages are like, that's our listing, they're doing
1000%.
something.
No, I'm not kidding.
Right.
Yeah, I just wanna make sure, like, legally.
Legally,
she's
yes,
correct,
legally,
but-
she's right,
But yeah, but you can do your for sale signs with whatever,
right.
you know, as long as it says.
Keller Williams.
Ambiguous terms that it can be seen, you know, so before it used to be, it had to be like 1/3 of the thing had to say it, you know, 1/3 of the for sale sign, as long as it's ambiguous, but yeah, feel like you want yourself. So yourself and your business, it's not the other way around, what can we do to help?
Right.
Essentially, what can we do to help you grow, which will then in turn allow Keller Williams to become more profitable, grow more agents, more exposure,
Yes.
et cetera, et cetera. So we're gonna go talk about one thing real quick, then we'll go back to some of those questions. Because there's 3 ways to do it to help people self-serve: questions, experiences, and stories. So we'll go back to that in a second. So the easiest way to do it, you gotta think about this just like your own real estate business. In that, what's the lowest hanging fruit? Your sphere of influence, right? Right. You know, you get high hanging fruit, this goes expired, whatever, door knocking, whatever you're doing. Nothing's right, nothing's wrong in terms of like, you know, one way or the other.
Right.
But think of the agents that you do business with, that you've done deals with, as your spheres. Theoretically are. So what I've been doing is with the ones I've been wanting to do it, I've been adding them into Command and putting them on a quarterly touch line we've talked about. So that's one of those systems you can put in there. You don't have to do anything special, just put them on a quarterly call plan. Just set it out for 3 months after the deal closes for your first call. Then you just ask them questions. How's business? What struggles are you seeing in today's market? You know, just like you would when you're at a listing presentation. What would selling this home do for you? Why is that important? How soon do you need to do that? Just ask those probing questions to to these people, and maybe you set up one day. Again, it's tough if you're not doing all these deals closing in one day, right? 3 months out, call. So maybe you got to kind of figure it out on your own, like, what do I do once a week? I set up an hour block Fridays or whatever, just to call these agents I've done deals with. And whoever's there that week, you call. So that's on that. But so that's where I was going with that. Is that's your lowest hanging fruit, people you've done deals with. And that's, sorry, I should have prefaced. This class is about helping, more or less, it's about helping bring over experienced licensed agents. Because there's a whole different thing that her son teaches in this class. Like, I set up this website, you know, I run ads. And
Get people into school.
That's great, but he's all about helping these, you know, brand new people,
Right.
which is great. And I think there's enough people that can just know naturally that you can help doing that. If you really wanted to just solely focus on that, I mean, that,
Well, I mean,
I think if you have a
realistically,
40-hour week.
Like
job.
realistically, I mean, at my age,
Yeah.
the number of people in my sphere that are going to get a real estate license at some point, well, especially in Utah, right? Like, I mean, that's a huge number in
So-
terms of just like eventual brand new
Yeah.
agents, but I don't want that to be my long term. I want,
Right.
yeah.
Well, especially if you have an agent already in production, we're gonna start, you know, showing you immediate results. There's something like 1.3 million agents according to the National Association of Realtors. There are more people in real estate school than there are active agents right now.
Oh, really?
It's a little scary good thought, so.
It's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, everybody's just seen this market, and given this market's been on for quite some time, like, oh, just get in real estate. They don't realize obviously how hard it is to actually, we'll run a business and.
Yeah, like,
Get it done.
what did we just lose, like 3,000 to renew the
Yeah, I
license?
saw that, I don't know, yeah, I'm curious, and that's people who haven't renewed, I'm wondering like who were just straight up like dropping membership.
Yeah.
But yeah, think about that, more than 1.3 million students across the country are in real estate school right now. So there's ample opportunity to find new agents for sure, 'cause they're out there, that's not the problem, it's like, you wanna do that, because you don't have to do one or the other. You can do a combination of the two, it's just, this is more designed to help bring in providing value to agents who know what they're doing, or have been doing it, and then seeing if they fit with us. Jordan?
The class I just took, the teacher, she was saying that in the state of Utah alone, over 80% of new licensees go inactive and quit within 18 months of getting their license.
Yeah, it's something like 92% after like 2 years, like 2 to 5 years or something like that. So that's the risk we run with new agents. Is you want them all to succeed, you know, for every.
But realistically, they're
For every
Statistic.
Emily and Phoenix, there's gonna be a lot of people that just never do it.
Well, I always bring
Unfortunately, so.
I always talk to Emily about that, like, I mean, I remember all the people that we took a time with.
Yeah.
I think me and her are the only ones still here
Right.
out of that class.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're thinking about your SOI, you know, trade the agents you've done deals with as your spirit. They're the people you know the best, you know, you have those interactions, those text, phone calls, whatever, right? But what are some other ways? Because I think that's been the problem with profit share. It's like, oh, if you've had a great deal with somebody, say, hey, my team leader is going to give you a call, you know, or however you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, but for me, like, I'm only gonna, that means I'd only talk to 20 people this year, right?
Right.
Like,
So what are some other ways? And that was kind of aha moment, the light bulb went off for me when I was taking this class, like, why have I not been doing any of this stuff, using these different events? So for instance, you go to an open house, you take your buyers to an open house, and you really like the way this person's running an open house. This is really well done. You know, so you're going to the open house, one, first and foremost, to help your client see if it's a right fit. But if that person just meshes, get their information.
Yeah.
You know, take their card. He's like, maybe this is a person who would actually benefit. Maybe they want to get their open houses to the next level, and by coming here, they can do it. So I was like, I never even thought about that. Some other events you can do is Red Day we've already talked about. You know, it might be kind of weird, like, oh, Keller Williams, you got to wear a red shirt. No, just come participate, hang out, right? If it's something you feel would benefit them, they would enjoy doing, you know, feel good about it. Do you ever go to, you mentioned something, a networking event, but do your lenders or title, do they ever do events?
yeah, well, I mean, here you go, right?
Exactly.
Aaron Butler helps people outside of KW, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Right?
Use that as an opportunity to meet your agents. Or agents you haven't necessarily done a deal with. That's what I mean.
Yeah, like, that's,
So-
like, I would go to that event and talk to people who work for other companies the
Yeah.
entire time.
Exactly, but I never had that mindset. I mean, I would go and chat with them. Oh, who are you with? Cool. Oh, that's cool. Well, nice meeting. We'll see you later. I
Right.
never thought
Well,
about
we
it
do
from a
deals.
personal standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, well, we should do deals sometime. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're using these opportunities to actually meet people, then if you see them in another event, oh, hey, it's good seeing you again. You can start to build that relationship. Again, this is a long-term thing, you know?
Yeah,
If you happen to catch one that right day, where they're like, oh, I hate where I'm at right now. Then you split the conversation,
Right.
like, what's up? Why is that? Then you can have a conversation. But again, building that rapport, lender events, golf tournaments, that networking event.
Yeah, the
Like,
networking one
like
was
that.
actually pretty great. I mean, I probably talked to 4 or 5 different agents while I was there. And, you know, that was put on by a home builder. Like, I was just there, right?
Yeah.
And I have to put that together. I mean, I feel like those are honestly really good, and I started to see more of them.
Mhm.
Just through, and I find out about them like through Wasatch Front agents or
Right.
whatever that is, and it's like, hey, if I was to do a class that talked about this, how many of you would be interested? I'm always saying I would, because I know that there's gonna be a lot of agents there
Right.
that I don't know.
Exactly, no, exactly right. One more thing I should say about that. Yeah, just, you know, go to the economic forecast, go to, you know, whatever your recreational activities, you know, if you play golf, like, that's easy for me to say, you know, play golf. I played with the broker at Sotheby's on Sunday, actually, on his day, he's not going anywhere, but still, by that connection, if it was somebody in a position where they might be wanting to leave, you know, now I've got a foot in the door, like, play golf, spent 5 hours talking with him about his business, what's going on up in the Park City market, those sorts of things.
I think an interesting thought too, like when you brought up letters, titles, title people, things like that. I mean, before we get off the call with our clients, we always say, you know, if there's anybody else that you know that might be interested in buying or selling real estate, but you haven't given a call, right? Or can I count on you or whatever? I almost feel like you can talk to your lenders and title, like, hey, you know, if you know an agent who's struggling in their business or is maybe looking at switching, can I count on you to always
Absolutely.
let me know about that?
No, see, that's exactly right, yeah, 'cause again, this is from her perspective, what she's had great success with. So there's not this one and only true way, there's no secret sauce being taught today, it's just thinking about things from a different perspective, how can you be purposeful about it to help build long-term wealth? So, yeah, absolutely, do something like that is ideal, I didn't thought about that until you just said it, that's a great idea. Because you never know who they're interacting with, and like, well, I can't wait to get this deal done, so I can leave. I've been working really hard with new construction, with agents, with the edge and stuff. And I actually just had somebody, Sean, I met with almost 2 years ago. And I called her the other day, so I want to see if she wants to sponsor a whole golf tournament. She said, oh, I'm actually just leaving Edge. I'm like, oh, if that's the case, let's have another conversation. She's like, I have a few more deals to wrap up before I'm out. Because that's the problem with new construction, is that they're definitely long-term, because they've got the golden handcuffs on. You have 40 deals lined up by sitting in the model home. It's tough, it's just like, you know, I quit and not letting.
Watch that $100,000 walk away.
Yeah, every so often, you never know. So, so we talked about value already. So what are some strategies that help provide value? You mentioned a couple. See if you remember.
I think inviting people to classes is really easy. You know, especially when, I think a lot of people like, a lot of agents I talk to, that really is their big thing. Whether it is, I don't know how to manage my finances, or I don't know how to, and like, yeah, if you're paying attention to the education calendar, there's always something to invite them to.
Well, and if there's never not, but you feel good about whatever that is.
Right.
Teach a class.
Right.
And bring that, teach a class, create a mastermind, do a book club, just do anything you can. And I would do a book club, maybe have 1 or 2 KW agents if you want,
For sure.
but don't just market it to this market center. Like, hey, I'm teaching the.
Throw it out in
one
Wasatch Front
thing.
agents.
Yeah, we would be interested, just like they've been asking you. Flip
Right.
that around and start asking them. If I were to organize a book club that we meet once every other week or whatever,
Right.
would you be interested? And then again, providing that value and building up your own validity over time. Because if you're, I don't say the right word is intimidated, but if you're reluctant to talk to this $20 million a year producer because you're a year and a half, 2 years
Right.
in,
Right.
what validity do I have? Maybe not a ton off the bat. I mean, they'll see that you're doing some work and whatnot, but over time, that validity will go build, so your relationship and that validity and that value will then hopefully, you know what? Phoenix actually has something going, so maybe they want to.
Yeah.
So that's all it is. So we talked about this. This is kind of the last thing I've got written down. Again, I was taking this master class. If you guys want to spend 20 hours learning McKissick,
Right.
please do, because it's awesome. But yeah, so experiences, stories, and questions. So experiences we've talked about, KW events, and so much like, so I met Sabrina and Becky at Mega Camp 2 years ago. So the market started brought them down, These are very good agents that do a lot of production, bring them down. So it'd be difficult for you, and you're certainly more than welcome to, but if there's an agent you've been working with, you can afford it, okay, why don't you go to Austin with me for a couple of days, come as my guest, that sort of thing. Again, that's a question only you can answer in terms of like where you're at looking for, but again, if they're kicking butt enough, talk to Sean. The office might be willing to sponsor, pay for that trip down to Austin or Orlando or wherever we're going next. You know what I mean? So KW events, Red Day, training classes. One thing to think about is shadowing. Maybe where they're struggling in their business is lead generating. And I'm a good lead generator, I'm not great. I think having somebody who was sitting by my side, is forcing me to make calls, would do a tremendous amount of work or benefit for my business, right? So Linda sat in next to Gary Keller one time, and he was just making his calls. And when he was still in production, making calls, and she's like, "I'm sorry to waste your time." I said, "No, I'm not here. This isn't for you. This is for me. This is Gary Keller, Summers. Because if you weren't here, I may not be disciplined enough to make all the calls I committed to making. But by you sitting here, it's forcing my hand." So if Gary Keller's talking about that, and you have some reluctance to get on the phone and dial a day, everybody feels it. So stories, use a personal story, or if you don't have a personal story, use a story of somebody you know to help them see why KW is awesome. Without again saying KW is awesome. So I was trying to think about a good example of this. Do you guys have any examples like the story you tell? I think one could be last month we were able to raise $40,000 for the Salt Lake Alliance, or I can't remember what it was, Salt Lake Gym. Stuff like that. Just stories. Again, there's no secret sauce to what I'm out here saying, but thinking about things, being personal about it. So think of the story, something that shows you what we do without again saying, Keller Williams puts on this awesome Red Day. Just say, hey, we always like to get together once a year and do a lot of benefit for the local community. I'm great. And then again, questions. Questions are key in our, the best salesperson is the person that asks the best questions at the end of the day. You'll get the most buyers, you'll get the most sellers. You just ask poignant, strong questions. So again, we've talked about this, but what's the biggest hurdle or challenge you have in your business right now? Again, making it about that. You're like, oh, that's terrible here. I sold 6 listings last month. I'm not sure why you had such a bad month not selling a listing. Again, you're not making it about you. You never say I, me, whatever. What do you need? What have you seen? What's your opinion on the market? Again, what's the biggest thing you need to accomplish this year to your business at the next level? So, what are some other questions you guys think could be? If you think of any questions that would be kind of good leading probing questions.
I think we would just start the conversation with like, how's business going, like something super easy.
Yeah.
And then follow up with like,
Yeah.
what's your biggest challenge?
Yeah, exactly. I think the most important thing is, she gave 2 scripts, but I was all excited because I was going through all the material again last night. It's just on this thing I have access to. Here are my 2 secret scripts. I'm like, finally, I'll start writing down. There are scripts. You just ask them how their business was. You ask them a genuine question saying, how are you and how's business? Is everything okay?
It's
I
kind
was
of
like,
like.
I was like, oh, finally, like this is what I've been waiting for. After the 19 hours of learning how to build an IDX website for new agents. Okay, finally.
Right.
And the other one is basically just along these lines, it's just ask them like, what if you need help with your business? So, I mean, that's kind of really all I have. I know it's weird because there's no like start and end to this. Because again, it's a moving goal. Personal goals are moving, how we do it's moving. This is just for one perspective. I'm going to take her perspective because she's made $14 million with it. So until you have Emily, then you can, then you can't. But my point is, you learn from those before us, So there's no right or wrong way, but there's plenty of ways to go in and start being purposeful about it. If it's just one agent to talk to, I've got a couple. She's talked about like, have 5 to 6 agents at any time that you've got in your pipeline, give them as your agents. If you have it, great. I've got like 2 or 3, and I'm just feeding into them. No, probably not as much as I need to. The point is, I now have a plan around it. So some of the systems you're talking about, models, is, just put them on a quarterly call. Yeah. Send them a thank you card after closing. Like, hey, it was really great doing a deal with you this month. Look what we do more again down the road. Then you follow up like, hey, again, how's business going? You don't have to send them a birthday card if you Facebook stuff down, that sort of stuff. So really, it's just like what you would do for your sphere. There's nothing really any different, etc. Thinking of them as important, as an important piece of the real estate transaction as the buyer and the seller. So when you start putting them on the equal level, not as just that person you've got to deal with. Some of them will be, that's just the reality of it. But if you start thinking of them as equally important as the buyer and the seller, you'll see that you actually start thinking about them building your business. Not building your business, building a business around it. Because again, you're a real estate business, buying and sell homes is one thing. Then running a business probably is completely different. But the similarities are very much intertwined on how you treat the prospects in both. So yeah, any questions? I mean, we covered a lot, which is great. Thank you for your participation. It's been helpful. Because it's kind of dry stuff without, some real world examples. But any questions you guys have, or what else could I do to make this class better? But I'd like to teach this again. It's the first time I've taught it, and I want to actually do it with some more validity with more people in my downline. Because I don't have like, here's what I did.
Yeah.
But but the point is, listening to people like, okay, you can get out there, and it's forcing me to do it. Otherwise, I do a deal and I'd be done with it. Right. Even if it's the best agent I've ever worked with her hand raised, like, I want to leave my brokerage. I wouldn't have purposely thought about that before, like, oh, well, maybe do it. Now I am, and it's been awesome. So
I would just say, like, I feel like kind of this stuff is very subsurface. I don't know what we can do to go like a little bit deeper. Like if we could create like a checklist or like within command or something, yeah, and like kind of just what other agents have used to talk to that $10 million agent who did come here. And I think part of that could be talking to Becky Harson and Sabrina Peters and what was the big value add? What sold you here?
yeah. So
Jace.
Jace, that's right. I won't say Jake, that was right. Jace, what was the thing you just said? I'm sorry, I was writing down. You said something.
Oh, like scripts, that would help
Scripts.
a lot.
Yeah.
And what Phoenix said, finding out why that $10 million person wanted to come here.
What I would try to do. It's like walking. If you want to have time. Because I wanted to get an agent, actually not outside of our market center. I've been trying to get a friend of mine from Connecticut to, and she's in that Josh Stern level type of, she gets to go and sit with Gary Keller for that family reunion, that sort of thing. So trying to get her to join, we just gonna make it happen. I wasn't sure being the first time, but this is definitely a class I'm going to teach in the future. I don't have anything planned on it, but it'll evolve and get better and better. And I think it would be great. I'll have a couple of questions for that first night interview. or I'd love to open up to the floor. What have you done? You know, how have you done? And then so it's not just so localized. So I think when you hear it from somebody you don't know, maybe you can ask some tougher questions, maybe, or at least.
Like for me,
Give
it's
them
hard to
perspective,
visualize,
so.
it's hard to visualize like her making $120,000 a month when Lee Stern is the top performer and she made 35 grand all last year. Right?
It's crazy.
And so I'm like, where's the disconnect a little bit, or like, what's, because don't get me wrong, I think Lee's a great recruiter, but why isn't she at that level? And is it a consistency thing? Is it a, you know, I kind of stepped out of that, like,
Yeah.
I built it and just kind of walked away, like, I would like to kind of know
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
that difference is
Because
what created that.
You know, we hand out checks. Well, we used to hand out the checks, right?
Yeah.
Hey, look, it's so-and-so made $800 last month. That's covering your 2 car, or whatever. That's great.
Right.
That's awesome. Linda, you just made $120,000 last month. What do you do with it? Put it with the other
Buying a
$10 million.
property.
Yeah, I know. That's the great thing about profit shares. You can use it for whatever you want, vacations, college. Use that to help build your wealth real estate, or you know, you want to buy, get in the stock market.
Right.
That sort of thing. You know, so you have all these investment vehicles that can help kind of just leverage on each other too. Because if you sell more real estate, you talk to more people, and you can buy more real estate. And you can get into investor clubs. I mean, those investor clubs have a lot of good agents that would benefit from Alan.
Right.
So maybe they want to come here, you know, so everything kind of just steps up on itself, so.
Yeah, I mean, my goal for retirement is $500,000 a year in passive income
There you go.
outside of
I
those
think,
other.
I
you
think
know,
that's your,
401ks.
I think you just figure out your freedom.
Yeah,
number.
that's my freedom number.
Yeah.
And, like, the
Yeah.
profit share is gonna be 100% that or 50% that.
Yeah, exactly, and think about it too, so, think of these, like, okay, my goal is to make $500,000 a year, and that, how much do I want from coming from my investments?
Right.
How much do I want to invest in the stock market? Obviously, stock market up and down, just
Sure.
real estate, but how much do I want to come from profit share? And then if you end up owning a business, it's just, instead of making 3 things, 4, 5, 6, whatever it is. If by doing these things, you can then help, well, I guess by doing, because it's tough, because any business is really, anything's really a business if you think about it. If you go own a, you know, buy a, what's something people buy? A car, golf club. Golf, car dealer,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, whatever, but like, but you need obviously that capital to do it. The great thing about profit shares business, think about it, is it's totally free. One thing you really have to do is put the effort in, the people that you've enjoyed working with, or people that you've met for whatever way, and bring them over here and using that money to help them to build up businesses. One thing she does recommend, and it makes all sense in the world, is get a separate check or a separate account for your profit share. Just open something up that not your name. And tell Rachel, here's where I want this money to go. Kind of out of sight, out of mind. You use that to be, because if you start, you know, mingling your funds, you're not going to realize, oh, how much am I making profit share last month?
Well, I didn't realize that I made $300 in profit share until I was going back through my profit, like my statement. I actually called Addison and I'm like, did you refund something to my card? Because I don't understand why this came back into my account from KW. She's like, how's your profit share? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, see, so you put it in a separate account,
Yeah.
forget about it, and down the road.
I would have never seen it if I didn't look for it.
check in on it once a year, like, okay, I made $10,000 a year, what am I gonna do with that?
I mean, at this rate, if I could even hold the $300 a month, I made an extra $3,600 this year. Not a bad,
Your
not a bad case for
It's your
that.
car payment essentially.
Yeah.
Your car payment's being paid by other people doing business. So it's awesome. So, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank
I'm glad we're doing, like I said,
Thank you.
50 people there. So I'm really nervous to teach this class. So I like teaching, but it's nerve-wracking. So, okay, well, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I hope so.
Oh,
Pizza's
there's
here.
pizza.
I really hope so. I didn't hear the word.
I don't know how to turn this off, so I'm not going to. Is this, that's your computer?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Ready?
No pizza?
No,
Dang,
bummer, huh?
it's a bummer.